your experience inside, whether you're feeling like angry, pessimistic, man, there's so many things that could like push your buttons every day. It's like the more you try to elevate to, the more pressure that you feel. It's like I love Kanye, you know, in the song "Can't Tell Me Nothing." He's like, I forget the actual lines, but he's like, under more scrutiny and what I do, act more stupidly. So that just made me laugh, right? So I think that's kind of funny, but whenever I'm feeling like a ton of pressure and feeling pressure, right, it actually sometimes, it makes you mad, makes you angry, more pessimistic, and you're thinking about the future in like a negative light. And so when you're thinking about the future in a more negative kind of light, you basically behave in that way. So let's say, for example, like I'm feeling today, like, you know what, I'm doing a business transaction, or I'm doing an investment, or investing my time and energy in something, but my feeling is that I'm not going to get an ROI on this. I'm not going to get a return on investment, or I'm actually like doubtful about it. Like I'm actually like, man, this isn't going to work. Like, oh, this could go wrong. Oh, this isn't working. Like maybe you're just working at a business. You're just like, man, this is not going to work. I'm doing bad with my leadership. My engagement isn't working. Like, I'm not really engaged with my leader. Like, I'm not having a good relationship with the rest of the team. Like, oh, this means like I'm messing up. And you start like kind of looping on that. Well, what I'm saying here is basically that it makes you act in a certain way. So, like, if you're angry, pessimistic, and all of these things, you're basically going to behave in that way. And so there's like the inside feelings, and I want to get really deep today into like the different inside, like what, like answering those fundamental questions of existence, which is basically like, who am I? Or again, like what is a human being even? And we'll go very deep into that. And then also like what's on the outside, like what do we actually do? Why are we here? What the fuck do we do here? We're on a floating rock. We're freaking hairless apes on a floating rock. And what the fuck are we doing here? like actually, I say this to myself a lot. Like I'd be just like watching people sometimes. Like I'm at a mall or something. Like we're doing shopping, and I'm just looking at like people and what am I doing? What am I even doing? Right? It's like, what do we even do? Like what do we even do? You know? So like, what the fuck is the purpose of that? And going back to what I was talking about, as far as like the certain emotion and how it makes you actually behave in a certain way. So if you're angry or pessimistic about your life situation, you're going to behave in that way. Like I'm like, oh man, the business deal's not going to work. You know, like, oh, I'm not going to get an ROI on this. I'm not going to get a return on investment. I've been putting so much time into this. Oh man, my relationship with my boss isn't working. Oh man, like this is just not going to work out. And so you start to behave in that way. And so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like the more that you do that, the more that you actually create a situation. And so Eckhart Tolle will say a lot of this stuff too, where he says is like you attract what you are, which is kind of like an interesting thing. It's like you attract what you are. So what can you do, right? What can you do when you're actually feeling this way? The funniest thing is like, I'm not above this. That's kind of like the main thing too. It's like, I'll make a separate video about this. I actually want to travel to Washington, D.C. And like, you know, that's like kind of where the politics are. How politics actually incorporates into what I'm going to be talking about today and the different laws of the universe. And there's a great book called 7 Habits, right, of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. He'll go through like the 7 habits, right? And then throughout the book, he even talks about and says like, look, I'm not above this. Like I'm not, just because I'm writing or talking about this, it doesn't mean that I'm above it or I don't deal with it myself, right? But I might have tools or different things that I do or I've dealt with it so much to the point where I'm able to solve it faster, or I'm able to use these things to actually help me when I'm going through that stuff. So if it's like you're having again, like the 7 habits of highly effective people, I don't remember all of them, but it's like one is like start with the end in mind. And again, I'll make a separate video about all that and the different laws of the universe. But it's basically like how you act and how you're not above all of that stuff. Like there is a limit to the human dimension, right? And so as a human being, that's how I feel. It's like we're in between the two worlds, right? One world is like the inside, and I'll explain this very deeply in just a few minutes. And then one world is the outside world, like what you're perceiving on the outside and what's going on the outside. Like what are we even doing? Like we have a huge city behind us, right? It's like what are people doing? There's like millions and millions of people in that city. Like what's the point, right? What are we doing? And so these are the two different things. One thing is like the inside. I'll go very deep into that. And again, it's like I make myself laugh, bro. So the funny thing is like I'll make another video about humor as well. And yeah, you'll see all this. But basically, like what you're feeling, right? And so this is why I try to make myself laugh all the time, especially if I'm having a bad time, especially if I'm being pessimistic, okay? Especially if I'm getting angry about my life situation or the money that I spent or the ROI that I'm not getting back, okay? Make myself laugh, okay? So there's a few things that I'm going to share with you right now that are going to like help you with the humor or feeling better. The reason for that is because, again, how you're feeling on the inside creates kind of like the situation on the outside, because you're taking different actions and behaving in different ways. So if you're angry and pessimistic, you're going to basically react and behave in that way. It's going to actually create a more of that type of situation. You're going to create a situation where people are angry at you. You're going to create a situation that's more pessimistic because you're behaving from that place. And so the other thing is, what if you change the state, right? What if you change the way you're feeling by laughing, okay? By finding it funny. And that's the thing about going back to The Power of Now, and how Eckhart Tolle felt like suicidally depressed at the beginning of the book. And I have my own stories about this. I don't want to get too deep into it because I think it's not going to work with the algorithm, and also it's just like really, really horrible stuff. Like most of the time when people share really bad stories, it's like it's too hardcore, and it involves things that are like just not good to share. And so I won't go too deep, but I was in the same situation. Like I was feeling like that. And again, I'm not above this. Like it could happen to me again, okay? It could happen to me again. Sometimes I get angry, okay? Sometimes I get really angry. Okay, so why is it that I like I turn it into laughter? And so this could go into the book The Alchemist, right? And in the book The Alchemist is like Santiago. He goes on a big journey. He's the main character in The Alchemist. And he goes through this big journey of going through where he is. I forget. I think it starts somewhere in Spain. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like the writer Paulo Coelho. I hope I'm saying that right. But I think he's like from Brazil, and he like wrote the book, and it takes place in Spain. But at the beginning, you have the shepherd, that's Santiago. And the shepherd is like, with sheep. He has sheep, and he's like in a church. It's like this abandoned church, and he's like trying to sleep in the abandoned church. And he has this vision, he has a dream, right, that he's going to find treasure. And he's going to go on this journey to find treasure in Egypt. And he's like, oh my God, my whole mission in life is to go to Egypt, okay? To go to Egypt, that's my mission in life. And like everyone else around him is like, how the fuck are you going to go to Egypt, dude? Like there's no way you're going to go to Egypt. Like how? And so he sells all his sheep, okay? He makes enough money to get closer to Egypt. And so he goes to this like, he travels, he tries to travel, he goes like on a camel, he meets like this Englishman, and then he's finally getting closer and closer to Egypt. I just think it's super funny. And he's getting closer and closer to Egypt, and then he finally like gets close enough where it's like on this desert or something, and then he meets this like alchemist. And the alchemist physically, I think he's like on a horse, and he's got like a hawk. It's kind of like the Planet of the Apes movie that just came out. He's like on a horse holding a hawk. And that's how he meets him. And the alchemist basically physically turns like metal into gold, okay? But I've also heard of this in like a spiritual sense, okay? And it's basically turning like hardcore, horrible situations or horrible emotions into peace or into love or into laughter. like basically just, at least for me, okay, and it's the same thing that happened to Eckhart Tolle, right? He had so much pain that he disidentified from the pain, and he just let it go basically, but started like actually feeling good, because he's like, maybe this isn't me, maybe this pain isn't fully who I am. And so I want to go deep today into the different workings and mechanisms of who you are, or like what a human being is, not who you are, but who I am, and the different mechanisms of a human being, and basically just my understanding of that. I think is really, really powerful, and I go very, very deep into it in different videos. But today I just want to recap that, and then we're going to talk about the outside. What is the purpose? What are we doing here on the outside? What are we doing here on Earth, even? And just basically how the outside world works. And again, it goes to the human being, being a human being, kind of being in between these two worlds, where one is like a world inside. And so a lot of different texts will talk about this, and how like you have a spirit or you have a soul, right? And what is that basically? And then a lot of different things on the outside as far as like how business works, because that's what I believe we're doing here. We're basically creating products and services and helping each other just get better and be more awake on the inside, but also kind of make more money and have more fun on the outside. And so a lot of this is like that. And I just want to briefly go into the different mechanisms inside and how those work. And just, this took me like many years. I've been studying this stuff for like 10 years, but been traveling and teaching for like the last 5 years and all around the country. So we've been to LA, I've been to Oregon, I've been to Portland, I've been to Seattle, I've been to Dallas, I've been to Miami. We just got back from Miami, or I just got back from Miami. It's really, really cool to go there and be able to experience that too. And now we're doing all across, like we're doing New York, right? And we're going to be doing Philly upcoming. We're going to do Nashville coming up, and Chicago as well. And so what is it basically that makes us who we are? That's kind of what I want to talk about briefly. And then again, on the outside, what are the things that we're doing as human beings for each other? And like, there's a huge city behind me there. It's like, what are people even doing, man? What are we even doing other than providing products and services to each other and then having more fun? And even that, it's like a lot of the times it also involves a product or service. So on the inside, you basically have your sense perception, okay? And so your sense perception is kind of like the outside coming into the inside, okay? I don't know, this is kind of funny, but and then I'll talk more about like how to make yourself laugh too, and the different, I know I talked about it and kind of got off track a little bit, but it's like the different things that you can do to actually make yourself laugh. And so I'll say that real quick. So the thing is, one is speaking of new things. So you don't want to think about what you're going to say. You're basically just like talking about something new. Like, I'll just look at a flower, just be like, look at the flower, it's brand new. Like, I didn't think about that. My focus wasn't on that before. And there's also like a theory of focus and processing information that's really, really cool. I'll share that as well if I can in this video. If I can, I'll make another video. But it's basically, it's like you want to come up with new stuff. And then the other thing is like the voice. So the voice, I think, is really cool. And you'll do, basically, I just do like a funny voice. And then again, it's like that, lower the bar of what's funny and just find everything funny. But to me, at least for me, like, it has to get to the point where it's like, I felt so much pain, bro. I've been in such horrible freaking situations that I just find it funny at this point. Like, it's just all funny. It's all funny now. Like, everything, and like the way that I understand life and stuff like that, but everything else is just really funny. And again, it's coming up with new things that you're observing on the outside. Doing the little voice, I'll share that with you. It's like, basically like, the little voice. Like, I'm like, look at the helicopter ruining my video. And it makes me laugh. Why? Because it's a funny voice. I know it sounds really stupid, but you gotta make it really stupid, man. Like, you gotta realize, like, I'm stupid, you're stupid, we're all freaking stupid. like I'm really stupid, okay? And so I just laugh. I laugh and I try to laugh and just have fun. Why? Because everything is so dumb. Like, we're all so dumb. We're creating like artificial intelligence that's gonna kill us all. Like, and that's funny. Like, how is that not funny? Like, how could we be so stupid? You know what I mean? Like, and I think the craziest thing about that is like, we're all one person. So like for me, it's like I can control my behavior, I control my actions, a little bit of maybe how I'm feeling inside by changing that up, but it's like I can't really control a lot of things. Like there's so many things that I don't have power over to do anything about it. And so it's up to every single person, right, to behave in the right way or to do the right thing. And I think I could condense down a lot of like the teachings and even ancient stuff, right? So like I've shared a lot of different books today that I think are really helpful. But some of the things that I really like to read nowadays are like ancient, not philosophy, but almost like spiritual texts. Like the Bhagavad Gita is freaking amazing, bro. It's so cool. What's so funny is like in The Power of Now, right? Like Eckhart Tolle talks about that. Again, I'll go back into sharing the inside stuff in a second. But in The Power of Now, he basically has like, he talks about the Bhagavad Gita, how he learned stuff from the Bhagavad Gita. And I remember when I was younger and reading those books, like I was like, bro, I'm never going to read the Bhagavad Gita. Like, what even is that? Like, I can't even pronounce it, bro. Like, I don't know what the heck is in that book, but I'll probably never get to the point of reading it. And I'll probably never get to the point of actually understanding what's in it. But I've read it, and I'm just like, bro, this is amazing. Like, it's just incredible. And when I talk to other people about it, they have really interesting interpretations of it. And I have my own interpretation of it. But I think, like, the book, the Bhagavad Gita, really taught me about eternal life, and it taught me about karma. And I'll make a separate video specifically about that because I think it's just really, really powerful. And I know when you're hearing this, you're just like, what are you talking about? Eternal life and karma and like trauma, like how does that connect? And I'll get into that too in another video. I'll get into that because I think it's really, really powerful, and I think it's a really, really powerful message to leave behind or just to give to you who's watching. But another book that I recently read was the Tao Te Ching, which is like Chinese kind of like spiritual kind of philosophy, right? And the Tao Te Ching is really interesting too, and it'll say things like do without doing. And this book came out like, I think 400 years like before the Bible or before Jesus was born. And so to me, I'm like, bro, Jesus read this book. And then he started teaching that shit. I'm telling you. I don't know why I think that. I'm just joking. But like, he totally read that book. See the voice? Okay, I don't know. It just makes me laugh. And I think the most powerful thing about like, now I want to make a separate video on humor, but a lot of the stuff I shared here too. But we'll just like recap too in other videos. But this is it's kind of like, you know, the whole thing about being or laughing at something, and boom, it's gone. So let's go ahead and talk about the inside now, because fuck it, let's get into that shit. So like the inside, you have your sense perception again, which is kind of like going into the inside. This is such a funny way to explain it. But you have your thoughts, right? Or like you have your vision, right? And then you have your hearing, and then you have your touch and your smell. And all of this kind of like creates the perception of the world around you, okay? So you're creating the perception of the world around you through your senses. And beyond that, you have like taste, right? So you taste it, you taste the air, you taste the food or whatever. And after all of that, it creates basically an experience inside. So based on the situation that you find yourself in, based on the senses that you're perceiving through, it'll create a certain situation, and it'll create like an emotion inside your body, which is like the energy inside your body. And so the energy inside your body is your emotion, right? You could be angry, you could be sad, you could be pissed off that there's a plane going over. You could be laughing, right? You could be having a good time. You could be peaceful. You could be apathetic. You could be courageous. You could be fearful. You could be feeling guilty. You could be feeling shame. You could be feeling like you're not good enough. Okay, so all of these are different emotions and energy inside your body. And so this is a connection. It took me many, many years to realize this. But most of the time, like when I went to when I personally went to like therapy or something like that, I would have people tell me to change my thoughts, right? They'd be like, you got to think more positively. And so that is kind of powerful in a sense, right? So you're just like, I'm thinking bad thoughts. Let me think better thoughts. Let me think happy thoughts. But it didn't make a complete connection between the emotions and how actually it's based on the energy that you feel inside and the emotions that you're feeling inside that are actually creating the thoughts that you're having in your head. So if you have certain thoughts in your head, it's basically directly correlated with the feelings inside and the emotions that you're having inside. And so if you're feeling angry, you're going to have angry thoughts. If you're feeling sad, you're going to have sad thoughts. If you're feeling happy, you're going to have happy thoughts, inspirational thoughts, good ideas and shit like that, okay? So after that though, that we just covered sense perception, which is kind of like how you view the world outside of you. So this is part of like the question, answering that question. It's like, who are we as human beings? Like, what are we? You know what I mean? And so what is a human being, right? And how I talked about how we're in between the two worlds, because there's the outside world outside of us, and now I'm explaining the inside world, basically. In a lot of texts, you will say like, that's the spirit or the soul, right? Or like what's going on the outside, or psychology, right? It's like the study of human behavior. Why do we do what we do, right? And so it would be like, basically, you have the emotions, the energy comes from your sense perception, creating the thoughts inside your head. And then those thoughts, a lot of times you get stuck in this loop, which is kind of like horrible, okay? And I understand because like we've all been there, we've all felt this, right? It's like you're having a horrible situation, you feel freaking horrible inside. It's creating horrible thoughts in your head. And then those thoughts are actually creating even more horrible feelings like fear or anger or whatever it is. And so the thoughts go back down to the feelings inside and the emotions. And then those emotions are creating more thoughts. And then those thoughts are creating even more emotion. And you're stuck. And it sucks, dude. It sucks. We all hate that. We all hate that so much. So it's like, how do you create laughter and disattachment almost from the thoughts and the feelings? Not disattachment. You got to feel. Here's also another key, and I'll go deeper into this in other videos. I already have made other videos about this, but it's like you're feeling it completely, okay? And this goes back into the Bhagavad Gita and karma and trauma, and we'll talk about that too in another video. But again, this is very brief recap of the different things that are happening within you, right? And who you are. And so the sense perception, the emotion, the thoughts, the helicopters. Just joking, okay? Funny. All right, so this is great. All right, so I think when you're feeling, when you're stuck in that, man, we've all been there, but it's like the best thing that you can do is just kind of take a step back, right? So maybe you're like really focused on this stuff. You got to maybe just take a step back, okay? And look at it from a broader sense, but also make yourself laugh about anything. Change the state within. Like, change your emotions within. Like, change the way you're feeling by laughing and making just anything, bro. Just focus on anything around you, okay? And just make yourself laugh about it. Like, just laugh about it, okay? I think you have to go through maybe a big journey to get there. And I'll go over this in another video, and I want to go over right now, but it's like, this video is going to be 5 hours, okay? If I like have to explain everything in one thing, okay? So the other thing is your sense perception, your emotions, your thoughts, and then there's something else too, which is your awareness, okay? And so, like Eckhart Tolle, if you've read that, A New Earth, right? It's another great book, and it talks about like the ego and the mind and how like the mind tries to get in and stuff like that. And I think one of the biggest things too is about the language, right? So language and what that actually is. So when we're communicating like through language, and I have videos about this too, but it's like when you're talking and you're actually trying to express an idea and communicating, you're basically pointing to what something is. It's like, I've said this before, but it's like, let's take another example. Like I don't know, there's water over here. So it's like water. Did water exist before the word water? And I know this is getting weird, but I'm just saying, like, just think about that for a second, okay? Did water exist before the word water? What even is a word, okay? Like, what even is a word, dude? What even is a thought? Like, I remember taking a social psychology class, and my professor, he was retiring, so he like didn't care. He like shared, like, it was a hardcore class. Like, I loved that class because he was just going. He's like, dude, this is my last time teaching this. Like, I'm going freaking hard. I'm going hard. And he said like crazy stuff, bro. Like things that like completely changed the way I thought about things. That was one of the questions. Like, what is a thought, right? And so I want to make this connection right now because it's like when you think about words, right? And you get lost in like a word, which is just a signpost. It's just a signpost, bro. It's just like, is a phone a phone? Like, you can look at something and say that's a phone, which is just like syllables. Like, it's just like sounds that I'm making with my voice, bro. Like sounds through air pressure that I'm making, right? To try to communicate what something is. I know it's getting crazy. It's getting weird. I understand. But I think if you can understand this, you can let this land, it's going to actually have a really, really powerful impact. Because you're no longer, like, my professor said, a thought is an idea, or basically a dialogue that you're having with yourself that is not said out loud, right? A thought is just a dialogue that you're having with yourself inside. And so if you think about that, it's like, dude, am I just saying words in my head? Am I just literally saying sounds and vowels in my head to like, it's just like, do you even need that? Like, it comes from before, right? It's like a caveman. It's so stupid. But it's like, the stupider, the better, dude. So, funny. Okay. So it's like, back in the day, right? It's like, we used to make noises. Like, you watch the movie that just came out, Kingdom of Planet of the Apes, and it's like, in the Planet of the Apes, like, ape, together, strong, right? Like, okay, so like, dude, like, what does that even mean? Like, words are pointing to what you're saying. Or it's like, what if it's a different language? Like, it's like you could point to things, be like, this. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't completely need words and thoughts like that in words or images even to like exist and be. You could just like perceive it around you and not. Basically, the faster you put labels on something, the more screen of thoughts that you're going to have, and the less kind of like present you're going to be in life in general, because you're just having like a thought. It's like you look at a tree, you're like, I already know what that is, it's a tree. And then like your mind doesn't, it just keeps kind of going and always labeling things and stuff like that. But if you could just like take it in and just like be there and look at a tree, not even label the tree, or not even label the city, or not even label the Statue of Liberty, or not even label like whatever it is. It's like you're going to have an experience where you're just there experiencing what's in front of you, and you don't know what it is. It's like you're covering up the mystery of life when you're doing that, right? And so life is very, very mysterious, and we don't know anything. Like, somebody who studies like a tree didn't just look at a tree and say that's a tree. Like, recently, right, I think there's like a documentary about this, how like trees communicate, and it's like there's roots and stuff like that, and like they just like communicate with each other. I think like if everybody on earth was just looking at a tree and just saying that's just a tree, like, who cares, right? Then most likely there wouldn't have been that one person who was like, no, there's something deeper here, there's something deeper to learn here about the tree. And so he started studying the roots and started studying tree communication and biological like tree communication, and then he came up with this new idea and then discovered something new. And so you need people who are thinking differently and who are looking at things differently and who are looking at things deeper than just like the thoughts. And going back to even the book Mastery, right, and how Einstein kind of like let go, and then he finally was able to figure it out. It's like maybe he wasn't able to figure it out because he was thinking too much, thinking and thinking and having all this language in his head. And then when he finally let it go, it's like the answer came, right? And so it's kind of like maybe when you let go of like thinking, right? And it's connected to the emotions, what I said before. And so how do you let go of emotions? A lot of the times it's through actually feeling the emotion fully. And so I almost want to go into like the whole karma and trauma. Fuck it, let's do it. So in the Bhagavad Gita, he'll say stuff like karma, right? And what is karma? He'll go very, very deep into what like karma is. And he'll talk about how like, basically my understanding of this is like karma is an old word, right? I don't know what year the Bhagavad Gita was written. I think it was before like Jesus. I'm not sure. But he'll say stuff like that, like karma is basically like what trauma is today. So today we use the word trauma, but I want to give you like an example of this. Let's say the story is that somebody got in a situation through their sense perception, created emotions inside of their body, and so the emotions were too much, okay? So if the emotions are a bit too much, sometimes you'll suppress or repress. So in psychology, they'll say like, that's what trauma is. It's like you basically are in a situation like a car accident, or let's say you were physically like hit or something like that by like your father or something growing up. And so it creates energy in your body. It creates these emotions based on like the situation and your sense perception. And these emotions either get repressed or suppressed if they're too great, okay? So it's like if you have a really, really powerful emotional reaction to a certain situation, you'll put it away for later. Like repression basically means that you put it away over here for later, and you're going to deal with it when you have the time to deal with it, because maybe right now you still have to do things. And then over here, it's suppression. And suppression is basically like you put it far, far, far away. You're like, this never happened. This actually never happened. And you just like pretend like it never happened. And but what's interesting about this is that you'll behave from that emotion. And that's what like reincarnation, when you think about reincarnation, it's not really that you're going to like reincarnate in a new body. It's that the energy, okay, the energy of pain and the energy of freedom and the energy of being free and present from that pain can actually almost like reincarnate in the world, or if it's like it's all around us. I know this is getting weird, but if you could let this land, I think it's really, really powerful, and I'll work a lot more on actually communicating this in a better way, because I think it is really powerful, but it's hard to communicate and it's hard to understand. But basically it's like the energy, right, based on like certain situation creates the pain. And so if you're behaving from that pain, and so let's say there is like an unfortunate situation where somebody was like, hit as a child or something like that by their father or alcoholic father. Well, later they're basically carrying that energy that they suppressed or put away or repressed, right? And so they don't realize, but they're actually behaving from that energy. And so they'll kind of do the same thing. And so if you think about it, maybe their father had a certain situation that caused that pain. And so it's like hurt people, right? So it's like maybe that energy got reincarnated by them behaving in that same way, and so it gets passed on. It's like generational trauma. You hear that? So to me, it's all kind of the same thing. And when I got into psychology, started reading that stuff, but then I got more into like even recently too, like Tao Te Ching and stuff, do without doing, and the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible and things like that. And when you're going through like tough situations, there's a passage from the Bible that's like, if you ask who here, right? Like Jesus asked a question. He's like, who here, if your son or daughter or family member asks you for a fish, you'll give them a snake, right? And if you think about that, it's like, I wouldn't do that. No way, right? I would not give like my loved one a snake. If he's asking for a fish, I would give them a fish, right? And so he's asking that, but he's saying it's about faith and having a belief in life itself. So like, I don't like to use the word God. And again, it's like, it's not about like being religious or not, right? It's about taking what works from each piece of information that you're receiving and actually using it in your own life to make your life better, whether that's, being happier or making more money or having better relationships. or just feeling more at peace, or having greater adventures, being more free to kind of like have awesome adventures and like travel the country or travel the world, right? It's about using those things to help you, especially in hard situations. And so if you're asking, what he says is like, do you think your Father or God, right, or whatever, if you ask him for a fish, that he's going to give you a snake? It's basically like, do you believe that in the future, whatever you ask for, whatever you want, you're going to get? Or do you believe that you're not going to get it? That it's going to be like, that you're not going to have faith that that's coming true? And maybe you don't know from your point of view, because you're just one person. You're just one biological human person. And it's like, maybe from a grand scheme of things, those things that you're asking for and what you wanted is actually coming. But you just have to have faith, right? Or believe that those things are going to happen. And it's like kind of like letting go and just being like, you know what, maybe I'm going through a hard time right now, but this hard time is going to help me get to like a better place, because I asked for the fish and I know that the fish is on its way. And I know that if I ask for something, or if this also goes with relationships and communication with people and having better relationships, whether it's business relationships or intimate relationships, like if you ask somebody to do something for you and you're thinking in your head, well, they're bad, and you're like, it's competitive versus being collaborative too, right? It's like most people, I would say, are in a competitive frame. Like they just want to be better. I'm going to be better. And so they try to like put somebody down to make themselves feel better. And it's almost like a cheat code that they use, which is not good. It's like horrible that anyone's doing that. But it's like this competitive thing where it's like, you know, you're going to give me the snake. You're going to give me the snake. Even if like you're trying to give them a fish, they're like, no, you're going to give me the snakes. So it's like, and what's crazy about this and how it all connects is like, if you're feeling good about the future and you're not feeling pessimistic, you're feeling optimistic about the future, and you're feeling good within your body, then you actually behave in a different way. You behave as if you're going to get those things. You behave as if like you already have it. You behave as if like, oh, I asked God for the fish, an example, or I asked life to give me the fish, and I'm just waiting for life to give me the fish because it's going to be great. And then you're feeling good, and then you go and you're just like having fun, and then like people actually like are like, oh dude, what's up, bro, blah blah blah. Seems like you're having fun, bro. And they want to be part of like the feeling inside. And so like people pick up on like the fun and like the good vibes, right? And it's not really about what you're saying. It's like, are you even going to remember? Like this video's been going for like, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe. I don't know how long, but it's like, or 50 minutes or something. And it's like, are you really going to remember everything that I said in the video? Fuck no, you're not going to remember shit. You're not going to remember anything. Maybe a few things, but you're not going to remember all of it, right? You're just going to remember like the energy maybe, right? Maybe a present energy, maybe a fun energy, maybe a direct kind of like composed kind of energy or something like that. And so this goes with a lot of different things. And I want to touch again, the thoughts, emotions, sense perception, awareness. So what is awareness? Eckhart Tolle would say like, it's basically the observer behind the thoughts and emotions, right? And so you have your thoughts up here, right? You have your emotions in your body, and so the emotions, I told you how they connect, right? They're connecting, basically the thoughts that you're having is basically the energy that you're feeling in your body. If you're feeling good, you're gonna have pretty good emotions. If you're feeling bad, you're gonna have kind of bad thoughts, right? And so the awareness is behind that. The awareness is just behind that. And so the awareness is like the observer. Eckhart Tolle calls the observer of your thoughts and emotions. And so there is something in like spiritual growth that they'll talk about, and it's called the Satori experience. I think this is in Buddhism, but it's like, what's the point of meditation? Like, what's the point of you meditating, sitting there and just like meditating? Like, what the fuck is the point of it, dude? And so for me, like in this, it's like about efficiency and actually making it work on the outside. But for many, many years, I was kind of like very, very deep into like what's going on the inside. How do I solve this? How am I able to express this? How am I able to explain all of this, right? And so what is the point though of meditation? Most of the time, if you ask anybody this, they'll say, well, it's to be more at peace, right? Or they'll say, oh, it's to be more calm. Oh, or it's to be more focused, right? It's to have more focus. So maybe you could read an entire book and very fast, right? But then that goes back to mastery, right? And the 10,000 hour rule, and how basically it's like you have the different skills that you can learn in life, and it takes about 10,000 hours to master that skill. And so back in the day, what they used to have was like carpentry, or if you wanted to, I don't know, learn how to build a boat, I don't know. If you wanted to do like any other kind of craft or something like that, you would work with a master of that craft for about 10,000 hours. So it would be like 7 years. You would work with them for like 7 hours a day or 8 hours a day. And after a while, right, after the 7 years, you would master every little thing. You would go through every mistake, and you would be like, oh, okay, that's how it works. Oh, that's how it works. And so there's a theory of information processing that I use with focus and attention. That was the first question that I asked myself when I got to college was, what is focus? What is attention? Like, I just want to know what that is. And so I got kind of deep into what that is. And I created this theory of processing information, which I don't think I read this anywhere, but it's like maybe in the book Flow or something. I still use it, and it doesn't fucking matter where it came from. I would just say, just use it yourself too. It's like, basically, you have a thing, person, or activity. Those are the three different things that you have. And if you think about this, like, this is a video game, okay? Because let's be real. It's like you have Grand Theft Auto coming out. Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out, right? And it's like, dude, you watched the trailer for that. It's like, I've been to Miami. I just got back from Miami. It's like, is this fucking real, dude? Is this fucking real life? Like, think about like 10 years from now or something, or Grand Theft Auto 10, or like Grand Theft Auto 20. Like, it's gonna be like real life. Have you tried the Apple Vision Pro? It's like you put on, dude, the Apple Vision Pro will blow your fucking mind, right? It's like you're watching the Apple Vision Pro, you have that shit on, and it's like you have 3D images and video. Like, there's 3D video, dude. You're like putting those shit on, and you're like, I'm watching a video that's in 3D that almost like it feels like you could touch it, dude. And then you come out of that, you like take it off, and you're like, is this fucking real life? Am I a 3D video? Like, are we in a fucking video game already? What is Earth, dude? What the fuck are we doing here? And so, who the fuck knows? Maybe we're just a character in a video game, all right? In a futuristic video game made by AI. All right, so you have the awareness. Getting back into it, guys. Okay, so basically, if you have like the karma thing and the trauma thing, if you let go of a lot of that stuff, and it's like, sometimes you let go of it in the moment. There's a great book called Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, and Power versus Force. And you'll go through the different levels of consciousness. He says at the bottom you have apathy. And then above that, or I think it's below apathy, or it's like kind of right there, you have guilt, like shame, and all of these different kinds of levels of consciousness or energy or emotions. And then above that you have fear. Fear is kind of like, oh, I'm scared. And then you have anger, right? It's like, oh, fuck this shit. I'm so fucking angry at this. All right. And then above that, you'll have like desire. You'll have courage. You'll have willingness. You'll have acceptance. You'll have peace. You'll have love. You'll have joy at the top levels. And so it's kind of like a really, really interesting book. But I would say that how that connects to those feelings going above and then letting go of the trauma. So in the book, he explains like a mechanism. He says he all day he would desire something. So like he wanted an apartment, like I think it was like New York, and he wanted to be like this specific thing, and he wanted to be at this price range, and he wanted to be like on the corner, you know, overlooking this park or something like that. And he desired it all day. He desired it and desired it and desired it and desired it. And then he was like, man, I don't know what I would do if I don't have this. I just want it so bad. I want it so bad. And then he just let go of it. Then he was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't even want it. I don't even want it. Whatever. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's all good. And he let go of it. And then it was like he was driving home. I know the first time I read this, I was like, this is BS. This is bullshit. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. Okay? But for some reason, it stayed with me. I'm sharing the story now, right? So it's something I read, like it's still with me. I still remember this, and I actually use it. So it's like I used it many, many times, and I've seen it for myself. Like thinking about a perfect apartment that I wanted in Oregon, and I wanted to travel and see all the nature there. It's like, watch the video. I'll put clips right now of me doing that, and like the beautiful apartment that I had. Like, it's crazy. I didn't think that was possible. I remember being super like sad and pessimistic and just like thinking that my life was horrible. And again, I'm not above this. Like, this could happen to me. It still happens to me, right? But I know how to deal with it, and I know how to keep going and persist in the things that I want to get, right? And let go of the emotion, which I think is really, really important. And when you have nothing else to let go of, when you've just gone through everything, and there's still going to be more. Why? Because in life, you have tons of pain. Like, if you look back, there's videos I made about this in Trilum Lake, one of the most beautiful places. And what's crazy is, like, you put the Apple Vision Pro on, and they'll take you to Trilum Lake, and you'll be looking around. You'll be like, whoa, I'm at Trilum Lake. This is crazy. And you'll have like the freaking rain, and you'll be like, I've been there. This isn't real. This isn't the real thing. It's not even close, but it's getting close, and it's fucking scary, right? At least for me, like, it's kind of scary. It's like, I remember just trying it, and it was like, I felt like I'd been to so many different places and traveled or something like that, and I had been nowhere. I was just in the Apple store the whole time. It's kind of weird, bro. It's kind of weird, and it's getting there. Like, we're like soon. Like, everyone, you know what's funny? If you think about the marketing of that product, it's like the worst thing that it has is that it's the first. And so people are waiting for the next one. Like, everyone's like, oh no, I don't want to get the first one. I'm going to wait till it gets better. You know, it's like soon you're going to have glasses, and you're just going to be like in somewhere else completely, or you're just not even going to look at a screen. Like, I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was like, why do I have to look at a screen all the time, you know, to communicate and stuff like that? Why can't I just like have the thought of communicating with the person, and then they just get a message that I'm already thinking about them or something? And like, it's like, we're kind of getting there. Like, soon you'll just have the glasses, and you'll just talk to the AI, and you'll just be like, oh, hey, I'm thinking about my friend Jill. Can you just like message Jill or some shit like that, you know? And you're just like be messaging Jill, just without even looking at a screen the whole time. But kind of you're looking at a screen because you're going to have the glasses on. So it's kind of weird, but you're not going to have like your hand looking at a screen the whole time. I think that's kind of interesting. But anyway, going back to letting go of it all so that you're more free. So basically, it's like the behavior is not coming from a specific kind of emotion. You're kind of like let go of all of it. And then once you've gone through all of it, you could do this like every day, right? It's like trauma release, like, right? In the community, people are talking about like trauma release. You just release it all, and you're just feeling really good inside your body, and then that makes you behave in a certain way. I think that's where like basically like lowering the amount of what's funny and that's how you get a ton of humor. You just laugh at everything. You just laugh at freaking everything, because it's like everything is funny. But also you could actively do this, like actively lower the amount of humor that you want in your life, and just be able to laugh whenever, especially if you're having a bad day, or if you like really in a really, really bad place. Whether it's a situation, it's like, again, if you kind of change, like you just laugh at it, and you're just kind of like changing the way that you're behaving, right? Then different things start to happen. Like, different people react differently, and it's like we're filled with different people, and the way that people react to us and the way we communicate and interact kind of like shapes our world, like shapes our lives, right? And so, other than awareness, there's something really powerful that I'll talk about next, which is intuition. And intuition is basically like, I call it life's GPS. And so, again, you have the sense perception, right? The different senses and how they perceive the world around you. You have the emotions that it creates through the situations that you find yourself in. You have the thoughts that are created by the emotion. I went over, right, how to kind of like how that whole mechanism works, and how you can kind of change your thoughts by changing the emotion in a way, letting it go and stuff like that. And the other thing is in letting go, right? And so the other thing though is awareness, which is like the behind the emotions and the thoughts, you have like the observer of that. Like Eckhart Tolle will call it the observer of your thoughts and emotions, and that's awareness. And I think, like I was saying before, like in spiritual texts and shit like that, they'll talk about the Satori experience, and how like when you meditate, like what's the point of meditation? To be more focused, to be more calm or something, right? Well, I would say that it's to quiet the mind, right? It's to have no thoughts. And what's crazy is like, how do you even do that? And like, what's the point of that? Like, what if you have no thoughts? And how can you be more efficient actually by not really having many thoughts in your head? And so as I'm speaking right now or whatever, it's like I don't really have thoughts in my head, right? Or as if I'm doing something, even at work or something like that, like a lot of the times it's like you don't have thoughts. What's interesting is combining this with the whole theory of processing information, right? And so if you're processing something new, a lot of the times you'll get frustrated. And so the idea of this is that the world around you is basically dark. Like when you're born, you don't know anything. Like you just don't know a lot about the world and how it works and everything like that. And so everything is dark. Just a way of saying it, or just a figurative speech here. But you're just kind of like, you think everything is dark, and you have your focus and your attention, and the light of your focus and your attention. And so the light of your focus and attention can focus on a thing, person, or activity. And so that consciousness, that light, is going to figure something out about what's dark, okay? Follow me here. You're gonna have an item or a thing, you're gonna have a person or an activity. And so for example, let's say you're playing basketball or you're skateboarding. I love to use the example of skateboarding because it's like if you're bad at skateboarding, you're not gonna like it. You get what I'm saying? Follow this. If you are not good at skateboarding, you're gonna fall and you're gonna get hurt and you're gonna hate it. But if you put the time in to focus on it, if you put the time in to master that skill of skateboarding, you're going to love it. Why? Because you're good at it. You're good at it. And so maybe you're too good, and then you're just like, this isn't fun because you're not challenging yourself enough. And then you challenge yourself more, but then you're still good, and then you're just having fun. You're just loving that skill. And so that is like what everything is. It's like everything is a different skill that you could tap into. If you're thinking basketball, if you're thinking business, if you're thinking marketing, if you're thinking sales, if you're thinking operations, if you're thinking leadership, if you're thinking design, if you're thinking about fucking anything, bro, video, if you're thinking about speaking, if you're thinking about whatever, dude, whatever it is that you're trying to master to give value to the society or to the world. And this will go into like the outside. I'll probably move the camera and just go talk more about like the outside economics and finance and how that fucking works, because I just think it's really interesting. So everything we talked about today or right now is basically all about the inside and the operations and the mechanisms on the inside. But there's also kind of like the outside, right? And so you have like the different, you as a human being, like I've said, it's kind of like you're in between the two worlds. You're in between the inside and the thoughts, the emotions, your awareness, and then your intuition. And your intuition is like your life's GPS. It's like following your heart, or it's like something that is guiding you. Like you kind of have the idea in the back of your head, but you kind of feel it in your heart. You're like, yo, I got to do this. And it's like a thought, and it's almost like a realization. And you're just like, man, like there's something inside of me that's telling me to do this, and you just follow that intuition, right? And so that's kind of interesting. But the other thing is biological drives. And now I haven't dived too deep into this, but it's things like making money, survival, right? Reproduction, sex, right? And so these things are also biological drives. I'm hungry, I'm tired, right? All of these things are actually also part of your experience as a human being. And so you have all of those different things, and that's about it as far as like the mechanisms inside. You have the thoughts, the sense of perception, your emotions, you have your awareness, your intuition, and then mostly biological drives. And so all of these things kind of create the experience that you're having about yourself, right? And after that, you have the outside world that's around you. And so what you perceive around you, but also what's going on and why the fuck are we here? Why the fuck what are we even doing? There's a huge city right back there, right? There's millions of people there. What the fuck are we doing here on Earth? What the hell are we here for, right? And so I would say that the purpose, right, but also like of who you are and understanding what a human is and understanding like what even it is to be human. And I think a lot of the stuff that I said today about the inside and those mechanisms is how they work is really, really powerful about understanding who you are and understanding how you're in between the two worlds, because everything I talked about is not something that you can see, right? In this part of the video, I haven't talked about anything that you can actually see through your sense of perception. I've talked about things that you can kind of just experience within yourself, right? Like you can't see a thought, you can't really see an emotion, but maybe you can experience the emotion. All right, but you all know what I'm talking about when I say these things, or awareness, or intuition, or biological drives. Like you understand what I'm talking about when I say those things. But also, there's a world outside of us that we're perceiving, right? There's a world outside of us that we're looking at on the outside. So what are people doing? What are we doing on the outside? And mostly it's business. Mostly it's providing a product or a service to the society, okay? That is basically what we're doing as human beings here on earth. And so one half of the purpose is to awaken and to actually become more aware and to learn and to basically shine light on the darkness, which is the unknown. And so like we fear what we don't understand and what we don't know, okay? And so what you don't know is basically the skills that you haven't mastered in your life, and it takes 10,000 hours. So you're never ever going to know everything. You're never ever going to master every skill that there is to master. You basically have, if it takes 10,000 hours, that's basically going to take 7 to 10 years to master a specific skill. And you can only pick a few. Like how long are we going to live for? You're going to live 100 years? Maybe even in your hundreds, you're not going to be able to do that much. You have 40 years, maybe 40 years, 60 years, 70 years, whatever it is to master a certain skill. And you're not going to be mastering everything. You're only going to be mastering like 5 things. Maybe 5 things at most, bro. So you got to pick the things. And I think it's just really interesting, the combination of everything that I've talked about today. Fucking insane, amazing, beautiful. And the other thing is the outside. So we're going to get into economics. I'm going to talk about finance. I'm going to talk about marketing. I'm going to talk about sales. I'm going to talk about operations. I'm going to talk about leadership next, and all the things that we're doing kind of on the outside, and how everything is just economics, in my opinion, okay? There's a few other things. Basically, it's just economics, and it's fun. You're having fun on your free time, or you're dealing with economics, having a job, trying to make your own business. And that's what we're going to talk about next. And yeah, I hope you fucking love that. Also, if you want to learn more one-on-one right now, just click the fucking link right below. Click the link, sorry. Click the link below. You're going to get actually a mastermind in there. You're going to get one-on-one. You're going to get digital programs that I've already made. You're going to get just some amazing things. Like we're going through your situation specifically, and basically how you can understand all of this and actually learn meditation for 1 hour. So you're going to be able to meditate for an hour. And why is that so powerful and beneficial? Is basically because you're going to be more efficient. And so you're going to be able to be more efficient in your life, be basically more calm in your life. And everything in business is a relationship, okay? So you're going to be able to be more grounded when you're actually trying to create a specific relationship with someone, right? That you really want to do business with, or that you really want to get intimate with. And you have to be very, very grounded in yourself when you're trying to do that. And so by going into all of this, learning the meditation for 1 hour, and it's so much deeper. You guys saw on here today. It's so much deeper than that. But it starts there. It starts being able to do that. You'll be talking to me directly. You'll be having that one-on-one situation where I get to go into what's going on, the questions that you get to ask questions. You get 12 fucking weeks of this one-on-one. It's going to be fucking insane. And it's just crazy, bro. The amount of energy too. It's like if I'm feeling tired. I'm so tired. I can't do it. I'm so tired. Like maybe that will get completely eliminated. I can't guarantee that that's going to happen, but I really, really think that you'll have a lot more energy. Definitely have a lot more energy to go after your goals. And the main thing, okay, is you're going to get focused. You're going to get groundedness, and you're going to be able to do this for hours, bro. You're going to be able to like sit down and read the book for an hour. You're going to be able to sit down and actually work on your shit, okay, for hours, okay? And you're not going to get distracted. There are so many different distractions that there are in life. And so this will help you eliminate all of those distractions. And there's accountability, okay? So you'll get the accountability to push you and to actually kick your ass, okay? So that you actually get moving on the things that are actually freaking beneficial for you, that are actually going to help you, okay? Rather than sitting there on TikTok or sitting there watching YouTube or sitting there, whatever it is that you're doing, eating McDonald's. I can't say that I eat McDonald's, but listen, you're going to be able to be a lot more focused and really go after the things that you love. And that's the thing, man. It's like the one thing that I would say is like eliminating distractions, and we'll talk about next is like the finance, the economics of things, and how you're gonna have free time to do like fun things. Like I'm traveling a lot this year, which is really cool. I love it, okay? But I'm also working during that time just because I love it, okay? Like to me, it's kind of, there's times, okay? There are times, right? And I would say that maybe you're having this situation too if you're running your own business, or if you're just working a lot at a company, or you have like a high level career, right? It's like you're gonna have times where you're just sitting at the movies, or you're sitting there with your family and they're watching TV or something. You're like, what the fuck are we doing here? What the hell are we doing? We got to get moving. We got to do stuff. Like, I got to work on my stuff. I can't just be sitting here watching the $200 million yachts or something. I got to go actually be able to do that. You get what I'm saying? But you'll be able to like enjoy it a lot more. So like, there was a time in my life where it's like I was doing so much that I literally like couldn't just sit there and enjoy a movie. I would have to like either analyze what they're doing in a movie to actually make money, or I would have to like just be like, I got to get out of here. I got to go work. I got to go do stuff. And so that's part of it. And I think being able to just enjoy the little things in life, being able to enjoy like just a day out in Liberty State Park, is also really important. And so you'll kind of get that too. You get the enjoyment out of life. And so as you're working, like to me, it's like I like doing this. So it's like that's what I like doing. It's just fun. It's just fun to improve. But the other things that and maybe you're just having like a time where you're just like free time, right? And so we'll get you basically focused on like the 6 things. I call it the 6 things that you need to focus on in your life. And I really think it's going to like change the way that you see distractions and the way that you get really focused on what you need to do and actually just do those things. And life actually becomes extremely simple. Like there's only 6 things. There's only 6 things that you're doing. That's about it. I'm not really doing a ton of stuff. Like I'm only doing 6 things in my life. That's all I'm doing. I'm either doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, or that. That's all I'm doing. And it becomes really simple. I'm not doing a ton of other stuff. But there's also free time and time to enjoy as well. And you'll kind of get a lot more enjoyment too. So if you're like feeling kind of overwhelmed and shit and fearful and pessimistic about the future, this will really help you kind of just enjoy and be more grounded so that you can create those relationships, whether it's like, you're trying to meet somebody to do business with, or you're trying to create more deep relationships, right? Intimate relationships. This will help you do that because you'll just be very grounded in yourself, and you'll be able to basically affect the environment and not let the environment affect you. I just think it's really powerful. I learned that from my mentor, right? So if you guys, if you're interested, click the link below. I'll see you guys on the call, and I'll talk to you there more, give you some more value specific to you. Other than that, I'm going to get into a different location, and I'm going to talk more about finance, economics, and we're going to talk